Well, we're down to the top 18 Pixar movies. And literally, to my opinion, all of them are a masterpiece. But it was a little hard choice to see what's going to be in 18th place. By which one? To be honest, it is really not really that surprised. Even though it's a masterpiece to me, it's just, not as a big 10 out of 10. Or not lesser of a big deal. And it is. It's Cars 3. To be honest, it is. Normally, when people saw Cars 3, they would say it was necessary since everybody was disappointed on Cars 2. Well, to me, Cars 2 wasn't really that bad. At least it's way better than Brave and the Good Dinosaur. But speaking of Cars 3, though, when I saw this movie, I was actually hyped for it because the Cars franchise to me, they're a huge part of my childhood. Well, mostly some of them. But still, when the Cars 3, this is where the true story is all about. Real life racing. They see if Lightning will actually retire racing because of this, crash thing. But to be honest, he will still face off. Still keep on racing. Even if he has to be trained by Cruz Ramirez. Oh yeah, speaking of Cruz, she was actually a fantastic character. I mean, literally, a really fantastic character. I mean, I can see her story about reason why she really haven't real race, but she always trained people to race as well. But her dream is honestly wanted to race, and that's how creative is. But doesn't still have problems though. Oh yeah, that Jackson Storm character, he's not really an interesting character. Oh yeah, and that gray car, Charlie, he was terrible, to be honest, he is. Oh yeah, and the Radio Springs characters, they were barely in the movie, especially Mater. And that's probably all. To be honest, Cars 3 was honestly the best Cars movie I ever seen. But is it the best Cars franchise? Well, not even close though. Since I watched Cars on the Road so many times on Disney Plus, I mean really, long non-stop watching it, it's honestly my favorite Cars out of the franchise. So yeah, that's probably good on it. Sure, Cars 3 could be fine-ish for many people, but to me, I think it's the best Cars movie I have ever seen. The very first time that Pixar actually made a movie with a little hip-hoppy and cool thing. Also a way better mother and daughter relationship unlike Brave. But to be honest, when I finally saw this movie in Disney Plus, I was actually very spectacular on this movie. It's actually pretty nice. I mean, sure, things might be going a little bit wrong, with the animal turning into animal stuff. Just like how Brave did when the murderer got turned into a bear. But only for this movie, only the daughter got turned into an animal. But not just that, she got turned into a red panda. A big, giant red panda. You guys could actually remind this movie as the Hulk. But to be honest, this movie is actually very good. I mean, this movie could get a little bit too overly hated sometimes. Some people might like it, some people might hate it, this stuff. But to me, I think this movie is actually pretty good. Probably my favorite anime movie of 2022 so far. Or if I could see Strange World or something. But still, Turtle Red was actually a good movie. A very spectacular masterpiece. But less a little downfall to me. I mean, it has some problems and some stuff. But hey, it's still actually fun. And I'm very surprised at the songs. That were actually pretty good. And I have to say, it's a way better mother and daughter relationship unlike, Brave, Fine and stuff. This one is honestly at least less better. And sure, this movie is not as better than Soul, but it is quite better than Luca. Even though I like Luca, but I think Turtle Red is better. How do I know that? Because they both were released in Disney Plus, despite them not seeing them in cinema. So yeah. Onward is next. Now, I'm very surprised that this movie ranked higher in my list, considering how nobody really talks about this movie that much. They were pretty much excited about Soul, besides this movie. So, yeah. Some people might say that Onward is underrated or just not really that good. But to be honest with me, I think Onward is honestly the second most underrated Pixar movie I've ever seen. I mean, sure, the way how they use it by magic, just wonder why magic never really exists in the first place. Because they use objects and stuff like that, stuff. But when two bros try to figure the true magic to bring back their own father back, except it was less body-ish. But they go into this high-hitch adventure to bring the magic and bring back their father back. That's actually creative. Now, I don't really have to say something that much about Onward. I love the movie, but yeah. So yeah, Onward was actually an underrated masterpiece. I like it how creative it is, but to be honest, this movie is honestly just a little snack. But honestly, everybody wanted the main course, which is Soul. Now that's a brilliant movie. Ladies and gentlemen, in the first time of my Pixar movie ranking history, we have a full-weight tie between Finding Dory and Incredibles 2. Yeah, to be honest, it was kind of a hard choice which sequel is actually better. I mean, they're good to me, but they're not as good as the originals. Well, some people might see them as good or fine or just call them overrated. But to me, they're actually a great masterpiece. But which one's better? Let's just start off with Finding Dory. Now, when people recognize of Finding Dory, they usually call it fine but overrated. But to be honest, I found that movie is actually great, entertainment, and actually masterpiece of a sequel. It can be harmless sometimes. It's good, but not as better as the original Finding Nemo because I grew up with that movie. And with Finding Dory, it's actually pretty good. The animation does look pretty nice. And I like how they created the true story of Dory when she tried to find her parents. She doesn't really remember in the first movie where how she doesn't really remember how to... Well, I forgot. But to be honest, I can see how the way how they truly make Dory's story actually works. She tried to find her parents at the Jamaica, California, where she have journeyed with some of her friends, which is Marley and Nemo, and made some other friends like the octopus named Hank, Destiny, the whale shark, Belly, the whatever he is. So yeah, this movie is actually fun and creative way. It could be harmless sometimes. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's not better as the original, but yeah, it was a good sequel. Now for Incredibles 2. Now it was a long way for this movie. Consider how the first movie was released in 2004, and this movie was released in 2018. Now that was a long way for years for the sequel for this movie. So yeah, everybody was literally hyped up for Incredibles 2 because, you know, everybody wanted a sequel for the original of the Incredibles. And I can respect that. But when people saw this movie, they call it good or fine-ish or call this movie overrated. But to be honest, Incredibles 2 was actually a very good sequel. Just like Finding Dory, it's a great sequel, but it's not as better as the original. And for my honor and appreciation for this movie, I think it's actually a great successful masterpiece. And how they switch up the story a little bit. It could be a ripoff for the first movie, but a little switcheroo. But does this movie have problems? Well, yes. Surprisingly, there was no problems to me on, well, Finding Dory. But any other way, this movie has problems. I mean, one big problem I'd say is the biggest twist. Evelyn Dever being the twist villain honestly sucked. literally, for no reason at all, Evelyn Dever is the worst twist villain I ever seen. Mainly the worst twist villain in Pixar, but not as worse than Hans. Now, for the biggest hard question, which movie is actually better? Either Finding Dory or The Incredibles 2. None of them are not better as the original, but they're good. But to be honest, I kind of think Finding Dory is actually way better than The Incredibles 2. I mean, some people prefer Incredibles 2 than Finding Dory, but to be honest, I think this movie was actually better, considering I don't have no problems on Finding Dory at all. I mean, I like Incredibles 2 a lot, but this movie does have one problem, and that's Evelyn Dever being the twist villain. This movie was actually very good, and because of that, my mom actually watched that movie and she called it her favorite movie of all time, surprisingly. So yeah, I give it credit for this movie. Now, another movie that's also part of my childhood, which is Monsters, Inc. Of course, it's going to be higher on the list, because this movie was released in 2001, the same year as The Incredible Shrek, and Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and all these stuff. As for Monsters, Inc., this movie was honestly a great classic, a great movie that is also part of my childhood. And it was also in the Oscar Awards, and it kind of lost by Shrek. And to be honest, I'm quite glad, because Shrek really deserved the Oscar for being the best movie. I mean, don't worry, I love Monsters, Inc. Now, people think that humans are scared of monsters. But what they didn't know, if humans could scare monsters, and that's what happened. When I watch this movie, it kind of reminds me of E.T. When they try to return a little baby named Boo to her home. Yeah, it kind of looks like a ripoff of E.T. So, yeah. But that's how creative this movie is. And there is not much to say. Monsters, Inc. is actually a part of a childhood masterpiece, so yeah. And how funny does that be? Long years later, it also got a show in Disney Plus called Monsters at Work, which is also a creative show, so yeah, I like it. So yeah, Monsters, Inc. a very great movie.